Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk live on YouTube and StreamYard.com. It is going to be a loaded show tonight. My name is Michael Fletcher alongside Anthony Floyo. We are hoping to get Michael Bullock. If he comes on, great. If he doesn't, then I guess we'll wait for him tomorrow night. So we're going to dive right in. We got three things we needed to cover tonight: Smackdown Live, AEW Dynamite, and of course, we're going to be previewing Hell in a Cell that's going down tomorrow night. So with that said, we start off with SmackDown Live as we had a promo segment by Rey Mysterio as many of you guys know, the Hell in a Cell match that was supposed to have been for Sunday night, they actually moved it to Friday Night SmackDown, which is a big deal because for the first time ever on Fox, for the first time ever on network television, and I think it was for the first time in, I want to say, in almost 10 or 15 years, probably even longer, that a Hell in a Cell match was going to be televised on free TV, and we got it. So Rey Mysterio cut out a promo about the Universal Title match against Roman Reigns, and he was talking about it was family. It was a family. It was all about family and what Roman had done to his son. And I gotta say, this was a very strong opening, very good opening for the show, and it's nice for the fans on Fox to see the Hell in a Cell live and in color right before our very eyes. So it was definitely a sight to see. Uh, you want to talk about historic? I mean, it was pretty awesome seeing it inside the Thunderdome and the whole 9 yards. So really nothing more to add. Anthony Florio, a decent opener to the show.
Well, MF, I mean, it's the first time we've seen a Hell in a Cell match on free television since we saw it twice on Monday Night Raw back in 1998. Uh, it was June 15th of 98 where Stone Cold and The Undertaker went up against Mankind and Kane in a tag team match that was inside Hell in a Cell. And then the other was August 24th of 98, also on a Monday Night Raw. Mankind and Kane went one-on-one. So, but all the others were on pay-per-view, and there was a Hell in a Cell dark match um, right around late September 2011. That only lasted like 5 minutes, but that's the history of it. But anyways, Rey Mysterio as the pissed off, vengeful father calling out the biggest badass on the roster was great. Roman Reigns showing up and vowing to take matters into his own hands was just as fantastic. Now the table was set for a genuine pay-per-view quality main event on free television. It is event television, something WWE has not produced in over 22 years. And even if that means taking a match off Sunday's presentation and giving it away to the masses. So that's all I can say there. So let's get into our first match, MF.
All right, and we will indeed get off into the first fight of the night, which was General Aziz making his in-ring debut, along with Apollo Crews as they went up against Kevin Owens and Big E. And when it was all said and done, General Aziz and Kevin Owens wins the match. I should say General Aziz and Apollo Crews wins the match. Unfortunately, Sami Zayn got involved in the match. He was down at ringside and definitely had, you could say, a little say in the match, but it was the Nigerian nail for Aziz getting the 1-2-3 on Owens at 9 minutes and 10 seconds. So, Anthony, it's yours.
This was a bit of a disappointment. This was a bit of a disappointment only because the talent involved would suggest it would have been much better. A poorly timed commercial break without much of a sustained heat portion, nor a particularly great babyface comeback hurt it. What should have been a monumental debut for Commander Aziz was overshadowed by the latest in the Kevin Owens-Sami Zayn rivalry, which will end with a pay-per-view showdown between them tomorrow night at Hell in a Cell, per a backstage confrontation between KO and officials Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville. There was nothing inherently wrong with any of it. It just lacked the spark you would have hoped for based on the pieces involved. I could probably give this only about 3 stars for the effort, so not much more to say. Let's move on to you.
Yeah, no, 3 stars is actually pretty solid if you think about it. So I'm good with the number. I'm good with the overall. So yeah, 3 stars is my rating as well. I kind of feel like, yeah, it was a little bit of a disappointment, but it is what it is, and there's really nothing more to add about that. So next up we had was Shinsuke Nakamura versus King Corbin. The crown was on the line. The battle for the crown is what they called it. Nakamura wins it in 9 minutes even. All right. I mean, good match, good solid fight that we've seen in the past. There's really nothing for us to add on that one. For me, I could give this about maybe 2.5 stars. It was an okay match. There's really nothing more to add. So Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, 2.5 stars for me as well. How is it possible for 2 guys to have 5 matches in 6 weeks without a single one of them advancing beyond average quality? Both Corbin and Nakamura are strong in-ring workers, but whether it was their series in 2017 or here 4 years later, they've just never had the in-ring chemistry to deliver a great match. They brought the effort, but what we got was more of the same, with Nakamura's quite literal crowning moment. Hopefully this is the end of the feud, though Corbin's expressions after the bout suggest that may not be the case. Hope I'm wrong. Here's hoping we at least get some new direction or creative for Corbin, who made the most of the King gimmick for way too long. So 2.5 stars for me, I agree. So with that said, let's move on.
Yeah, yes, indeed. I gotta say the next thing that we will have here, it was a promo segment by Bianca Belair, interrupted by Bayley. Bayley gets the leg up on her. Anthony, I think we can say that might be booking 101. Your thoughts?
I think we're forgetting something very important that came out of this. Bianca Belair has low-key been great on the mic since winning the SmackDown Women's title at WrestleMania, even as some of her promos became more scripted schlock. Her natural charisma and delivery helped them exponentially. This was no different. She issued a challenge for Hell in a Cell, and though it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever from a storytelling standpoint, she made it seem like an enthralling idea. That Bayley is so damn good between the ropes and demonstrated some solid chemistry with the EST at WrestleMania Backlash only helps the buzz for the match. The rest of the segment was strong, and Bayley looked hella dominant as she stood over the champ with her title overhead. Too bad the storyline hasn't supported the end game of the Cell match, because all of the other ingredients are there for something special. But we'll have to wait and see. So tomorrow night, MF, we're going to see these two inside Hell in a Cell for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Could be interesting. We'll see.
It could be, yeah, no doubt about it. Then after that, we did have well, let me see. Was there another match? I thought there was another match somewhere along the way. I guess they didn't call it a match. It was supposed to be Angelo Dawkins versus Otis, but the fight never really got off the ground, so we're just gonna bypass that. The only thing we got left, well, there was a promo segment backstage where it was Cesaro and Seth Rollins. That was pretty effective. I mean, there was really nothing more. It was just the two guys yapping a little bit. Really nothing more for us to handle. It was just that, final build for the match between Cesaro and Rollins. So I think it was fine for what it was worth. So we got nothing else there. Led us to the main event, as it was Roman Reigns versus Rey Mysterio inside of Hell in a Cell for the Universal Championship. Roman Reigns wins the match in 16 minutes even. Look, for it to be on network television, for them to do it like this, I mean, it was actually a pretty decent fight. We'll call it the fight of the night. We'll give it about 3.5 stars. Is it the greatest Hell in a Cell match? No, absolutely not. No way we're going to talk when we're going to say that it's the greatest Hell in a Cell match in the history of Hell in a Cell. No. You didn't have the craziness. You didn't have the chaos. You had a vicious spot at the end where Roman Reigns basically lawn darts Rey Mysterio into the cage, a la what he did to Dominic about a week ago, and that was a devastating move. Had me yelling, "Oh my God!" when he did it. But at the end of the day, I mean, is it going to be the most memorable Hell in a Cell match? No. But we expected Roman to win it, so there's no big surprise there. But kudos to WWE for giving us what I thought was a pretty good, decent quality network television Hell in a Cell fight. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. They did a pretty good job with that. So, Anthony, it's yours.
I'm going to give it 3.5 stars for the effort. Rey Mysterio threw everything at Roman Reigns in this one, and when he wasn't tossing weapons at his opponent, he was evading the explosive offense of the champion. That was a plan that was destined to last only so long, though, as Reigns caught him mid-flight, and from there, he ended things in short order. The booking was great, the action made sense within the context of the story, and Reigns continued his dominant run atop SmackDown. Some will question why this was pulled from the pay-per-view, and while that answer is known only by those in WWE at this point, it elevated the significance of this SmackDown episode and made it feel like a big deal. Considering how strong the show has been in recent weeks, that is quite the statement. So, and you're absolutely right, Matt. This was not the greatest Hell in a Cell match in the almost 50 match history of this matchup. But Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer News Radio, he discussed it, and they talked about it, and the decision was it's no big. It's just what it was, and they wanted to shake things, and they wanted to put this match in front of the largest possible audience on Fox. And Meltzer said that he spoke to sources at WWE who indicated that this was a matter of getting more eyeballs for the originally scheduled pay-per-view bout. But it had to be Vince. I mean, it was Vince, no doubt about it. That's really all there is to say on that. So, it was interesting. I mean, and if they had kept this on pay-per-view, I think it would have been a better match. But at the end, I mean, unfortunately, I think there were like 2, maybe 3 commercials that I think killed the flow of it a little bit, and it kept it from being what could have been a great matchup here, no doubt about that. So, but 3.5, I believe, is the correct rating for this. So, I think that's the best I can go. So not much more to say. We'll get into our overall thoughts here. And, it was a solid show, even if it was a 1-match night. But if push comes to shove, I would probably have to give this show maybe along the lines of what we had on Monday Night Raw, maybe a 6, 6.5. Maybe even even 7 at the absolute best. I mean, it was all about the Hell in a Cell match, and rightfully so. And the other couple of matches were solid, not overly spectacular, and end of the day, it was a solid show. I mean, they almost doubled the Cell card in 2 hours, which is quite annoying, but it is nice to do it on TV rather than over the weekend. The Cell match was the big story, of course, and that worked very well. So kind of hard to complain about getting this much on a regular TV show. So about a 6.5 to 7, I would say, for me. So MF, let's get your thoughts and then move on to AEW.
Yeah, I'll give this 6.5. I think it was a solid show. It was all right. I mean, look, like we've been preaching for the last few days, SmackDown has a very limited roster, so it's not like we're gonna blow the doors off everything. But at the end of the day, I thought they did a really good job. I thought they handled their business. I thought they did what they needed it to get done, which I thought was a very good performance. So at the end of the day, they did as solid of a job that they could have done, and I'm pretty impressed with what they have done up to this point. So there's really nothing more to add here. It is now time for AEW Dynamite, and we started it off with the MMA fight. That's right, the MMA cage fight. It was Jake Hager versus Wardlow, and Jake Hager wins the match in the second round. With 47 seconds remaining on the clock. So if you do the math, that's about, I want to say, 4 minutes and 13 seconds into the second round. So the winner by submission at 4:13 in round number 2 was Jake Hager. Look, for an MMA fight, I thought it was solid for what it was worth. I mean, if you guys know, I'm a big UFC guy. I love MMA. I watch the PFL. I watch MMA. I watch Bellator. Combat sports is my forte. So this one, and we all know that Jake Hager is actually was a Bellator fighter for a little while, and he did pretty well for himself. He did a pretty good job. So I thought, they did a real good job handling the business, and to do a match like this is a very risky move. So unfortunately, I'm not going to give this a rating. This is not a rateable fight. This is kind of one of those that if you know the rules of MMA, you know how these are going to go. You could tell that they were trying to make it look realistic. They were trying to make it as authentic of an actual fight. I think this is kind of what they call a quote-unquote a shoot fight was what they were trying to do more than anything else. I think they handled it as good as they could have done it, throwing what they threw at us. And I thought they did, like I said, they did a solid job more than anything else. I don't think you can really say that there wasn't anything bad about it. It was just they handled what they needed it to handle. They got the job done, and they made it pretty good. Is it the greatest thing in the world? Absolutely not. I've seen some incredible UFC fights in my day, and I mean, you want to talk about unbelievable battles. I've seen quite a few unbelievable battles, but yeah, so this was good. It was solid. I enjoyed it. I liked it. Well done for what it's worth. Anthony, I'm not going to give a rating for the MMA fight, but you've seen a couple of MMA fights in your day. How did you think AEW did with Wardlow versus Jake Hager?
I definitely agree. I mean, it's going to be a no rating, but disrespected MMA more than presentations of the sport and wrestling have. But that doesn't mean it is something AEW should revisit frequently. If fans wanted to watch MMA, they would tune into UFC, Bellator, or any other MMA product. Jake Hager and Wardlow worked a competent fight with a quality finish that didn't hurt the latter before all hell broke loose in the feud between Inner Circle and the Pinnacle that refuses to die. Kudos to the continued booking of Sammy Guevara as the star of the feud, as AEW follows through with its promise to promote the future of the business. So, and big news about Sammy Guevara. When AEW finally returns to Wednesday night, which will be on June 30th, Sammy Guevara is going to be going one-on-one with MJF. So, whoa, talk about a main event anywhere in the country. So, that's all there is to say on that. So, it's a no rating and a final from the sports world, MF. The New York Islanders have evened things up with the Tampa Bay Lightning. They win 3-2. Crazy finish. You have to see to believe. So not much more to say. Move on.
I'm watching it right now. On USA. Oh my God. What a
that would have been a mercy moment.
Yeah. That would have been I bet you would have had a screaming Michael Fletcher moment right there, folks. So there's nothing more to say.
Absolutely.
Next up we had was I can't believe this happened. A handicap match. Darby Allin versus Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. Obviously, Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky wins the match in 11 minutes and 45 seconds. Anthony, I mean, it's yours. I got a few choice words about it, but I'm gonna hold my tongue for the moment. It's yours.
But it was still a very good match, though. I mean, I could give it about 3 stars. I mean, this was a great display of Darby Allin's effectiveness as the gutsy underdog babyface. Despite the beating he took throughout the bout, he threw everything he had at the heels and nearly scored the upset, even outthinking them. The numbers disadvantage proved too much for him to overcome, and Sky and Page won as they should have. If there was one negative, it was the lack of purpose. Why did this exist? To prove that Darby Allin needs Sting? That feels somewhat counterproductive, given Allin is the long-term star here. Sure, it put over Allin's toughness, but we've known how relentless and resilient he is from the beginning. To prove the heels can only win when they have a numbers advantage or when the Stinger isn't around, that doesn't necessarily do Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page any favors either, even if they are the heels in this equation. Give us something to go along with a strong story that played out within the bout, AEW. Everyone involved deserves it. Wouldn't you agree on that? 3 stars despite all this.
That's the biggest thing that I was taking away from it is that what does this do for Scorpio Sky? What did this do for Ethan Page? It didn't really do anything for either one of these guys, to say the very least. So I kind of felt like they kind of left it there for the eyes to see, even though it was a solid match. It was a very good battle, but I don't know. I just felt like it was not as good as I thought it was going to be, and I really felt like it should have been better than what it was. But I mean, yeah, 3 stars. I'll give you credit for what credit's due, but I don't know. We'll move right on along. Next up we had was Orange Cassidy versus Cesar Bononi. Orange Cassidy wins the match, 4 minutes and 10 seconds. This was a spotlight fight for Orange Cassidy. You could call it a fun little sprint. It was a decent match. I really got nothing more to add here. So, Anthony, I'll give this about maybe a 2-star fight. I thought it was all right for what it was worth, and it's yours.
Yeah, 2 stars for this. The Wingmen are a great undercard heel faction and the perfect use of the talent involved. Don't be surprised if they are one of those acts that exceeds expectations from a popularity standpoint and as a result moves up the card. Orange Cassidy is a total star, and that last orange punch was on point. His faction with Best Friends and Chris Statlander is great and helps with his overall presentation. Not a terrible use of all involved by any means. 2 stars for the effort. Move on.
And as always, like as Caliber says, give the people what they want.
Yes.
And that's exactly what they did. All right. So next up we have is we have a tag team match here. So it was Cody Rhodes and Brock Anderson, which is oddly enough the son of AA Arn Anderson. They went up against Aaron Solo and QT Marshall. Brock Anderson and Cody Rhodes won the match in 10 minutes even. Now, a lot of people are like, wait a minute, why is Cody there? Well, remember, folks, this show was pre-recorded before the big news that happened about, I want to say about 24 hours, 48 hours ago. Congratulations to Cody Rhodes and his wife, Brandy. They just gave birth to a baby girl. Liberty Rose, I think her name is. So congratulations to them. Anthony Florio, it is yours.
What was your rating for that again?
You lead off anyway.
Yeah. Cody Rhodes, Aaron Solo, and QT Marshall did exactly what they had to in order to tell the desired story and put Brock Anderson in the position to both star and succeed in his first match. This was excellently executed, even if there wasn't much to the match itself. This was probably about another 2.5 to 3 star or so bout. What this needed most was the emotional post-match between father and son, which was interrupted by the commentary team throwing to a Lance Archer video package and JR's sit-down interview with Andrade El Idolo, and that told us nothing we didn't already know outside of a tease surprise from him and Vicky Guerrero. But AEW missed the moment in the name of jam-packing the show to the seams, something it must improve upon moving forward. One thing WWE has always understood the significance of is the power of moments. To get them, you have to let things breathe rather than throw into vignettes and video packages, thus missing out on what makes things truly memorable. Considering how prone to the dramatic and theatrical Cody is, for better or worse, it is somewhat surprising that the company does not have a better grasp on how to really capture moments. But about 2.5 to 3 for this as well. So not much more to say. But Brock Anderson, MF, Double A's boy, he got the win. He picked up the win for his team, and you saw they panned to Double A for a short moment after the match. And if I could read
pop a moment.
Yeah, you could definitely. I think he was definitely in his mind saying, "That's my boy."
Mm-hmm. Proud Papa moment. That's what we always would call it. And what a nice surprise, and what a nice moment for him, as this is indeed Father's Day weekend. So no doubt about it. Great moment for him. Big moment to say the very least. And now here we go. So next 2.5 stars is my rating for the match. It was solid for what it was worth, and it definitely gave us a big boost at the end. All right. So next up we had was Super Bad Penelope Ford going up against Julia Hart of the Varsity Blondes. And when it was all said and done, the winner of the bout in about and I want to say the winner of the bout in 6 minutes and 45 seconds was Penelope Ford. So I mean, it was all right for what it was worth. I'm not gonna say it was anything over the top. But then Miro comes out and basically, I mean, he goes out and just destroys the Varsity Blondes. I mean, why? I mean, I don't understand why that happened. I just, maybe it's just because it's Miro and he can do whatever he wants. I just don't understand the reasoning behind it. I really got nothing more to add. So, I mean, it was an okay match. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, about 2 to 2.25 stars for the effort, maybe even 2.5 at best. Penelope Ford looked great here, really getting to show off her in-ring skill set in what was essentially an extended squash. She was intense, aggressive, and showed no mercy as she beat down her 19-year-old opponent en route to victory. Unfortunately, as has been the theme throughout the course of the show, her win was immediately overshadowed by Miro's appearance and his impending feud with Brian Pillman Jr. That match will be damn fun and benefits Pillman's quest for stardom as a second-generation star, but it did a great disservice to the women who just worked seconds prior. By the time the commentary team threw to Dr. Britt Baker's promo, it was almost as if Ford's victory was a total afterthought. And for what? Vicky Guerrero's announcement of a tag match in a segment that could have been saved for AEW social media accounts, maybe? I don't know. But I believe on that June 30th, when they return to Wednesday nights, I believe that's when we will see Brian Jr. in the biggest match of his life, let alone his career, going up against Miro for the TNT Championship. So I know it's obviously not going to happen, but MF, could you imagine if Brian Jr. would have pulled this off? What a way to honor his dad, huh?
Yeah, what a way he would honor his dad. But I mean, that's a tough, tall order to make, to have him try to win that match, possibly try to win the title. I mean, there's really nothing more to add. So yeah, no doubt about it. So here we go now. We go on to the main event of the evening, a 6-man tag team match, as it was Penta El Zero Miedo, Eddie Kingston, and Frankie Kazarian going up against Matt Jackson and the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, The winners of the bout in 14 minutes and 5 seconds, Matt Jackson, Doc Gallows, and Carl Anderson, members of the Elite, winning the match. Okay. So you're going to tell me that Rick Knox is now in the back pocket of the Elite? Is that it? So we now have a crooked referee as a member of the Elite? Really? Is that where we're gonna go now with? Is that the avenue we're gonna go down the path?
That really happened? I didn't see anything involved. I didn't see anything where the ref got involved.
Well, because it looks like all right. This is what Jason Powell says, and this is why I got to call it out. He says, "Are they turning referee Rick Knox heel? Why would a referee hover over a wrestler on the mat in a way to block the opponent from leaping off the top rope, and also covertly causing him to miss the outside interference?" Floyo?
I haven't seen anything within the dirt sheets on the news sites saying that.
Well, did you see you must have saw the show last night. So obviously Jason Powell's leaning on to something. If he's saying that, I'm not going to discredit one of the most recognizable writers in sports, in wrestling right now. He's the one that's bringing it up. So I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, yeah. Is it a controversial finish? Yeah. But I think people are getting sick of the Elite. I'm sorry. All my buddies that I know from Discord wasn't really too happy with it. And they're already saying they're basically done with the Elite now. So I don't know what to say. I mean, it is what it is. It was a good main event, though. It was about 3.5 to 3 3/4 fight of the night. Florio, it's yours.
Yeah, fight of the night, absolutely. But how much more would it have meant for Frankie Kazarian in his first major match as the newly dubbed Elite Hunter for him to pick up the win here? Instead, the Elite picked up the win and stands tall to close out Dynamite again. It is a pattern that Dynamite has found itself in since the Young Bucks turned heel. While it's great to have a hot heel act and babyface fans want to see them get revenge, it all negates itself if fans feel as though the payoff is never coming. Eventually, the babyfaces have to get the ultimate victory, or it becomes a weekly exercise in sameness and repetition. Ask Triple H circa 2003. While the Elite isn't quite in danger of that yet, AEW should start paying close attention to just how frequently the heels are left standing to close out these shows. Otherwise, this was a very great six-man tag we have seen out of these players before, with a particularly impressive showing from the always excellent Penta El Ziedo Miedo. 3.5 to 3 3/4 star. Absolutely. There's absolutely the correct rating for this. This was the fight of the night. So, really not much more to say there. So now we're going to get into our overall thoughts on this latest Friday Dynamite, which was yet another taped show, before we finally start going back to live shows next week. This was not one of their better shows. Not one of their better shows, but the energy remained high, and there was enough good stuff in there to carry it. You still get the feeling that these shows are a little less important than others. But again, what are you expecting from a show ending at midnight on a Friday in the middle of June? AEW is just riding this time out, and that makes sense given the situation they're in at the moment. It's going to be a 6.5, right around 6.5, maybe even 7 at the absolute best. We know why they're in this predicament. Wow. Oh. Okay. And the reason why, I'm watching it right now. And it looks like we're in for another exciting finish, only on the other side of the sports world. But anyways, it's definitely 6.5. It was solid, if unremarkable. Nothing that was must see, and only a few things that are definitely better off left unseen. probably one of the more benignly forgettable episodes of Dynamite in recent memory. But when it comes down to it, I'm not exactly mad at it either. Go out of your way to see the opening match, the main event, and the handicap match. And that's probably enough to get you by if you can't see the whole thing, if your time compressed. So 6.5 from me. So not much more to say, MF. Get your thoughts, and we'll preview the big show tomorrow night.
Yeah, no, this was a solid match. This was very good as well. Um, it was about a 6.5, no doubt, and I'm not gonna make too much of an argument on that either. Um, it is what it is. It was solid for what it was worth, and um, there's really nothing more to add. So we're gonna get into the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. Yes, it is. We got 6 matches on the fight card. So we started off with Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. Look, I think the way that it's gonna go, it can go either way. It can go either way. Basically, if it kind of depends on how this is gonna play out, but I think at the end of the day, you got to go with. I'm gonna go with Cesaro. Well, no, you know what? I'm gonna go with Rollins. I think they're gonna give him the win back because I think they're gonna want to turn this into a trilogy. So I think we're gonna have one more match between the two. Remember, Cesaro got the win at WrestleMania. I don't believe there was a match at WrestleMania Backlash. So I think this is the second battle that they're going to have. So I think they'll give it to Rollins. And then I think we'll have one more fight either at Money in the Bank or possibly at SummerSlam as the blow-off. So, Anthony, it's yours.
Well, I think they did have a match on SmackDown. I think they wrestled on that throwback SmackDown, I think. And that's when Cesaro earned the right to face Roman for the Universal Championship.
So that's 2 wins already. Yeah, all right.
Yeah. Cesaro received a brief break from his issues with Seth Rollins to challenge Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship, but that didn't even last to the end of Cesaro's WrestleMania Backlash bout with Reigns. Rollins has brutally attacked Cesaro multiple times, including a curb stomp on the entrance ramp. Cesaro should win here, as a win helps him much more than Rollins, who is effectively bulletproof as a ready-made top guy whenever WWE needs him. I want to go with Cesaro to win, but after what MF just said, I mean, maybe they do give Rollins the win here to keep the feud going and set up a blow-off down the line. So I suppose I'll go with Rollins here, but I would not at all be surprised if Cesaro were to steal it again. So I'll go with Rollins to win here. So with that, MF, let's move on.
All right, and then the next match that we do have is going to be Alexa Bliss going one-on-one with Shayna Baszler. Anthony Florio, you lead off.
There's no question about it. This is going to be the worst fight of the night. I have no high hopes about this whatsoever. This disaster of a storyline rolls forward with Shayna Baszler having been terrorized by Alexa Bliss' doll and then having Nia Jax accept the bout with Bliss on behalf of her tag partner. This will be quote-unquote spooky, and there will be some sort of eye-roll-inducing stuff before Bliss gets the win, because WWE is all in on the silliness at this point. So I'm going with Alexa Bliss to win this match. MF, worst fight of the night, and this will be an absolute dud for me.
Yeah, agreed. I'm not going to waste too much more time on that one. Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. I got a bad feeling they're going to give it to Sami. I don't know why. I just do. I feel like Sammy's going to get a win here. Why for the love of me are they going to push this down our throats again? I don't know, but I just feel like they're going to do it. So at the end of the day, I'm going to call for Sami Zayn to win it. I would love for Owens to win it, but I do believe that he will win it. And Anthony, it's yours.
Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have been going at it on and off since Owens debuted in NXT. While they occasionally reform their lengthy friendship, more often than not, they're on opposite sides of the ring. After Owens won in the WrestleMania showdown, it would seem only right that Zayn gets the win back to even things up yet again. That would be true for most people, but Zayn thrives as a heel when he views himself as having been wrong, the whole conspiracy theory thing. So for that reason, I'm actually going to go with Kevin Owens to win here. But I would not at all be surprised if Sami were to steal it. So not much more to say. MF, next match.
All right, and we're gonna go into Rhea Ripley going up against Charlotte Flair for the Raw Women's Title. Anthony, you lead off.
In something of a running theme heading into the event, there's no reason to move the title off the champion in this spot. Everything right now should be about setting up for the return to live touring and SummerSlam. Charlotte winning the title here would show a lack of confidence in Rhea Ripley, and I don't think that's truly where WWE is right now. Ripley needs to win here to get even more credibility as the woman on Raw, and she should get that tomorrow night. So, and I think they want to give her the win back from WrestleMania last year. So I will say the winner and still Raw Women's Champion, the Nightmare Rhea Ripley. So not much more to say. MF, I truly believe it's going to be one of the top fights of the night.
I believe so too. I'm gonna go with Rhea Ripley to win the match as well. It's gonna be a solid match to say the very least. But yeah, so we'll just move on right along. Next up, we have is the SmackDown Women's Title to be contested inside of Hell in a Cell. Bianca Belair versus Bayley. It's Bianca. Bianca Belair, I believe, will successfully defend the title. I just don't see how Bayley's gonna win this one right now. They're gonna want to push Bianca. She's got the hot hand. So for me, winner and still the SmackDown Women's Champion, Bianca Belair. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, it's going to be Bianca. Bayley is a good stay busy opponent for Bianca Belair, but the program does feel like it has stalled Belair out a little after a highly emotional title win at WrestleMania. This is a spot where Bayley simply needs to do away with Bayley before moving on to the next opponent. There's probably one more month of nonsense for the champ before the build to SummerSlam begins, hopefully with an opponent who makes Belair feel as big and special as she did when she knocked off Sasha Banks. Maybe we finally get the rematch with Sasha. You don't know. Moving the match to inside Hell in a Cell should allow Belair's athleticism to shine, especially with a dance partner who has been there before in Bayley, who was involved in inside Hell in a Cell, the last Hell in a Cell back in October, when Bayley's record-setting reign ended at the hands of the Boss. So, but she'll make it 0 for 2. The winner and still the SmackDown Women's Champion, the EST of WWE, Bianca Belair. Not much more to say except MF. It's main event time, and it's about damn time Raw got a pay-per-view main event.
Yeah, and it will. For the WWE Championship inside of Hell in a Cell, Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre with the decree that if McIntyre loses the match, he does not get another opportunity at the WWE Championship as long as Bobby Lashley is the champion. Anthony Florio, you lead off on the main event.
This is Drew McIntyre's final chance at Bobby Lashley's championship, or at least that's the stipulation in play. The build has been odd since McIntyre has essentially acted like suffering mild distraction at the hands of MVP during WrestleMania was a grand injustice. The stipulation of this being McIntyre's last shot would seem to indicate that he'll walk away as champion. But giving him another title win without a live crowd feels wrong. It's time to move on from this rivalry and let Lashley make a final run to a huge match at SummerSlam. So winner and still the WWE champion, the almighty Bobby Lashley. MF, take it home.
I agree. Bobby Lashley, still the WWE champion. I just don't feel like it is time for. I think they're gonna want to move him on to a different partner, to a different dance partner more than anything else. So we're gonna have to wait and see how that happens. But yeah, there's really nothing more to add. So we're done for the night, guys. Tomorrow night we will recap the show, possibly at 10:30, maybe later. I don't know. We'll wait and see. But just keep your eyes peeled. We will have a recap of the show tomorrow night, no doubt about it. So at the end, for Anthony Florio, I am Michael Fletcher, guys. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you guys tomorrow night for the recap of the Hell in a Cell right here on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For all of us here, so long, everybody.
Goodbye.